The most honest conversations don't happen in meeting rooms. In corporate life, we're trained to believe that important conversations happen in formal places. Conference rooms, cabins, boardrooms, strategy meetings. But over the years, I've discovered something rather paradoxical. Some of the most honest, constructive, and breakthrough conversations don't happen where we expect them to. They happen in the most unlikely places, near the coffee machine, outside an elevator, in a corridor after a town hall, even at the washbasin after a long meeting. And I don't think that's a coincidence. There's a fascinating bit of corporate psychology at work here. The aura of the cabin. Walk into a senior executive's cabin and something changes. Even the most approachable leader unconsciously steps into their role. The decision maker, the evaluator, the person responsible for maintaining structure. The conversation becomes more formal, the responses become more measured, and suddenly hierarchy is sitting there with you. A cabin is a stage, and every stage demands a performance. So when you raise a sensitive issue in that environment, the conversation can sometimes hit a wall, not because the person doesn't want to listen, but because the role they are performing pulls them towards formality. Now take that same person out of that space, meet them in a corridor, at the coffee machine, in an elevator, and something interesting happens. The executive hat quietly comes off. The person returns. Suddenly, they listen more openly. They think aloud. They empathize. And sometimes they offer solutions they might never have suggested in a formal meeting. Why? Because people behave differently in different environments. Inside the cabin, the leader is tuned to manage, protect, and decide. Outside it, there's simply another human being navigating the day. And that's why informal spaces can sometimes create more genuine conversations. Let me give you 3 examples. The coffee machine approval. A colleague had been struggling for weeks to get a budget approved. Meeting after meeting, no progress. One morning, while waiting for the coffee machine to finish its slow philosophical drip, the senior leader casually asked, "Still fighting that budget battle?" 2 minutes later, "Send me the file again. We'll close it today." By lunch, it was done. The elevator honesty. After a particularly stiff review meeting, I happened to share an elevator with the director. He looked at me, exhaled, and said, "We're pushing you too hard on this timeline." That one sentence contained more acknowledgement than I had heard in 3 weeks of meetings. The timeline was reset the next morning. And then the wash basin. An employee once told me that the best career advice he ever received didn't come during a one-on-one or a leadership program. It came while he was washing his hands beside his CEO. The CEO simply said, "You work hard. Now believe that you're worthy of the outcomes too." No presentation, no agenda, no meeting minutes. But it stayed with him. And perhaps that tells us something important about corporate communication. Sometimes, if you desperately want to be heard by a senior executive, don't just look for the right meeting. Look for the right moment. Because engagement isn't only about presentations, reports, and carefully worded emails. It's also about timing, space, psychology, and ultimately, human connection. The next time a formal conversation gets you nowhere, perhaps change the setting before you change the argument. Because sometimes the hallway outside the meeting room holds more honesty than everything that happened inside it. And often, organizations move forward not through grand dialogues, but through those small, spontaneous moments when hierarchy quietly steps aside. Sometimes the most important meeting is the one that was never scheduled.